Hey guys, it's Amanda Buckner here with Untamed Fitness Personal Training and now also Omni Integrated Health Coaching. And today is Monday, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the thing that's on, I want to say everybody's mind around this time of year is stress. I don't know a single person that hasn't had stress in their life. Like, not even like I was going to say like maybe my children, but even my kids um have had some level of stress. They just show it in a different fashion, right? I noticed that my youngest, whenever she gets stressed, usually with not getting a toy that she wanted, or thinking about, missing grandparents, father, whatever it is, like she'll get stressed by having a tummy ache, right? And kids are just like very honest of like, I don't know what this word is, but I have a stomach ache, right? And that's like really indicative of them showing like, hey, I have an emotion. It's a big emotion. I don't know what to do with it. Help, right? But as adults, we almost grow up to not treat stress adequately, right? It's like, oh, well, if you're stressed, that means you're doing good. That means you're working hard, like you're going towards the right thing, right? Even in Buddhism, where it's supposed to be the biggest thing of taking care of yourself, right? It's like intrinsically wrapped up with this what do they call it? This like Buddhist and Bushido type of thinking where it's like, oh, well, if the life that you're living right now is tough and it's hard, then it means that you're on the right path. So you got to keep sticking to it. You got to keep doing it. And it's like, well, shit, that sucks. um, but I will talk about this book probably until the day that I die. It is the single most influential book I've ever read, ever. Um, this one here, it's called BodyMind. I liked it so much that when I went and did my first foot seminar of talking about how to strengthen your feet, how mobility is more important than flexibility, and then also how to recognize what your own issues are with like plantar fasciitis, with heel spurs. There was like bunions, claw toe, hammer toe, those types of things. Being able to recognize those and then correct it through strength training. So I did a whole presentation on that, right? And I went and I bought every single copy of BodyMind that I could find on this website called Thrift Books. It's like a really awesome place to find used books, right? But I like went and bought every single copy that they had and like handed it out to the people that were at the audience. I was like, I don't even like, here, just take it, read it, like it's gonna be amazing. And the first few times I read this book, I would read, like part of a paragraph, and I would have such and like an aha moment of like, oh my God, that's why and that's why like my brain would just like, explode literally every single paragraph. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Like it took me so long to actually read this book. And I keep going back and referencing it because the way that's broken down, like this isn't like an ad for this book, but I will never say anything bad about this book. But it's broken down into like, oh man, my back hurts, right? Oh, okay, back hurts. What does that mean? Okay, and then it tells you the holistic view of what does that mean, like posture wise? How are you taking care of yourself? How are you not taking care of yourself? And then even goes into like chakras and energy work, which like I'm not really familiar with, but it goes into that avenue and that perspective of how to heal yourself and get your back pain away, right? That's just like an example. It goes over the whole body, right? But anyways, we're talking about stress today and how you can literally be the driver of giving yourself your like more stress, or you could be the buck stops here, and you actually will rewrite what your stress is, right? As a fighter, I'm gonna get back to this book in a second. I know I'm like taking all these different tangents, but as a fighter, I used to get really bad anxiety before going into a fight. Obviously, like that's probably a healthy thing, right? But I would get this anxiety and it was like almost debilitating. I had a fight where I had a really hard weight cut and I definitely did not rehydrate correctly. So I got into that fight. I got into like the first round and I was just like, oh no, I'm so tired. I was like, oh no, I feel like I've already done like a whole day of just fighting people. I was like, man, this sucks. All right, just gotta like get it through, right? And so my brain likes to think back to that moment of that fight where I was just like, I don't have enough energy, I don't have enough time, like you don't know what you're doing, right? Like all these anxious thoughts, right? And somebody helped me put it in perspective of anxiety is just like the, you know, excitement's evil twin, right? It's excitement. Your body sees anxiety and excitement as the same thing. It's the same feeling, same emotion, or same hormones that get released. It's just how it's translated through the lens of your brain is how it turns into anxiety or excitement. So I was able to kind of rethink how I approached fighting. And every time that I got that like flutter in my stomach and like my heart would start racing, I'd say, man, I'm excited. Like, okay, I'm excited. Right. And so instead of me being like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. Okay, my heart's doing that thing. Oh my God, I'm so nervous. Like your heart's gonna do that thing. You're gonna go through the hormones of that physiological response anyways. If you start telling yourself like, oh man, this is okay, we're about to get on the roller coaster, this is gonna be really great, right? You're able to kind of spin it in a different direction and literally completely change your entire reality. So talking about stress can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing, right? We go through stress every day, from sitting in traffic to I don't know, like someone hitting your car or your card getting declined, or like a random, like I every single year, I don't know how this happens, I get like a random bill from the IRS of like, hey, we changed your tax bracket and where did you owe me $10,000 like yesterday. And I'm like, oh, well, that would have been cool to know like 6 months ago. Uh, but that's a stressor, right? As a small business owner and like an entrepreneur, I have a very entrepreneurial mind. So when things like that happen, I'm like, okay, how how am I going to pay for $10,000 in 2 weeks? Okay, we're going to figure this out. Not like, okay, $10,000. All right, well, I have to take X amount of like, shifts at, I don't know, Ruby Tuesdays. I don't know if Ruby Tuesdays is even around anymore, but I go more into like, how am I, like, what else am I going to be adding to my workday in order to get to the extra $10,000 versus trying to, have that money appear out of thin air. But that can be very stressful and a big stressor. Financials, not taking care of your family, not taking care of yourself, right? Health ends up being a very big stressor for people that are already not taking care of themselves, especially with the people that I work with as a personal trainer. I work with a lot of people that are very invested in their job, working sometimes like 14 to 16-hour days, multiple days a week, right? Like it's not one 14 to 16-hour day and then they get 6 days off. It was like 14 to 16-hour days until the work is done, right? And I know you know what I'm talking about, right? Like you don't have a say on, having the first YouTube video or the first like Twitch stream of, XYZ release coming out, right? You have to be on there. Or Amazon, that's like another big like white collar employer, right? Like they will replace you as soon as you start having heart issues, right? Like probably shouldn't be talking about Amazon, but from what I've observed and from what I've heard, they aren't very kind to the work ethic of their people. I'll just put it like, I'm not calling out Amazon. Like I know there's other big companies that are also doing the same thing, but they're the big people around here, right? So there's Amazon, there's like Microsoft, whatever. I'm going to get off of this like hole that I'm painting myself into, right? But focus, we're talking about stress. Those people that pour their heart and soul and like sleepless nights, and they're able to make the deadline of the thing that they're working on, which is super important, right? I guarantee you, the second the deadline hits and they're like, cool, thank you so much. Project done. All of the heads that are in that particular project get sick. And you know why? It's because you're very focused. You're like, okay, got to do this thing, got to do this thing, got to do this thing. Okay, nope, not getting sick. Got to do this thing. I'm not taking care of myself. Coffee, drinking because I'm so stressed. Not talking to my family, not talking to my friends, and you get like blinders on to the rest of your life. And all of a sudden, your project gets done. And like this happens to me every single fight camp, right? Once everything's done, you put in all this effort. Okay, cool, we're done. Like you sleep for 3 days. Like you're just like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Right. Was I always this tired? How was I this tired? And then you can't get yourself out of it. But let's talk about, I'm just gonna give you a little excerpt from this part of the book. And this talks about stress and its effect on your health. Let's see. So it says, what does all of this have to do with health, disease, and personal growth? Well, the implication of this yogic perspective is that health, disease, and personal growth are all aspects of the way in which you deal with yourself. When you are being loving to yourself and are without chronically painful conflicts, your body mind will manifest a state of health. Similarly, when you are being unconscious and unloving towards yourself, you run the risk of moving your body mind into a state of disease and stress, which could undermine your health and hamper your growth. I talk a lot about dealing with your emotions, right? Like not just not having emotions, right? Like that is wrong. I was raised of like, you don't be sad. Tears are for the weak. You can be happy or you can be angry, right? Those are those are your only two options. Both are very powerful, right? Happy is you attract people. Angry is you can destroy things, right? And that's not really healthy. Luckily, I've been able to process out a lot of that emotion and a lot of that like false lesson that I was taught as a child, and actually learn to embrace like, I'm crying. Okay, I'm crying. Why am I crying? like literally the other day I was like laying in bed, I was just like reading a book and like I just start crying and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to read this book anymore. Let's find out, why am I crying? Oh, I'm sad over this thing. Like over this thing that happened. Okay. I'm sad over this thing that's happened. I'm going to let myself process it, right? Like I'm in bed, I'm reading, like I don't have anything else I need to do, right? There's I was actually just talking about this the other day about the everything journal that we just released for the Omni integrated 6-month coaching program, but I was literally just talking about how there's a time and a place to process emotions, right? Processing your emotions is awesome, right? However, if your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, a significant other just broke up with you right before you're about to walk into a board meeting or right before you're about to hop on a Zoom call with your boss, right? Like processing those emotions of that breakup, that is not the time to do it, right? Um, I'll literally tell myself, like, I will look myself in the mirror and be like, hey, this is important enough that I need to properly digest these emotions. I'm not going to do it like a speed round right now and then ruin the rest of my day. You know what? 5 o'clock. I'm gonna grab my favorite movie. I'm gonna write a journal. I'm gonna treat myself to my favorite dinner, right? And we're gonna process the emotions of this breakup then. But like right now, I need to focus on this thing that we're about to do. And it sounds silly, like it's literally self-talk. It sounds like it shouldn't work, but it really has helped me kind of like take a breath, realize I'm still in control of my emotions, and you don't have to react then and there when it happens, right? Like you can kind of like keep everything together until later when you're like, okay, now we can process it. Now we can figure out what's going on. But the other side is like you just don't want to be like, oh, boyfriend, girlfriend breaks up with you. Do not think about it. Compartmentalize it, put it in the back of your brain. Never think about it again. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I have heartburn all of a sudden. That's weird. Never had heartburn. Or all of a sudden you get injured at a practice. You're like, I never get injured. I've like, I know not to put myself in that position. Why did I put myself in that position? Right. I was actually talking with one of my friends the other day, and he had just come back from breaking his leg. And I thought it was really like, I just kind of want to get into his brain a little bit. I was like, hey, like, did you at any time before having your leg broken, did you at any time think like, hey, maybe don't go to practice today? And he was like, 100%. It's like, what? Really? He's like, yeah, I got off of work and I didn't want to go to practice because just something felt off and I fell asleep. I took a nap on the couch and I woke up and all of a sudden it was time to go to practice, and just like knee jerk reaction went to practice. And he was like, even up to the round before rolling with this person, where he got injured, like even up to that point, he was still like, man, it's just something's off, right? I just can't put my finger on, just something's off, right? And then catastrophic injury, right? And I felt the same way for any time that I've ever hurt myself, right? I try to think back to it, like, what was I thinking, right? Last time I really injured my ankle, right? I had like a really horrific sprain. I fell down a flight of stairs right right before my first smoker that I've ever had in kickboxing. I was like, well, that was fine. Lateral movement, what is that? I don't need it. But I was trying to think back. I'm like, man, what was I thinking? Right. And that was the thing, is like, I wasn't thinking. I was like Skyping my child and like holding all of my kickboxing. We were literally about like walking out the door to go to practice. And I was holding all my gear and I had my phone, and like my brain was just super scattered and it felt foggy. I was like already in my weight cut. Right. But yeah, I ended up falling down a flight of stairs. Like, 3 months later, it finally started to heal. But yeah, man, like every time that I've ever gotten injured, there's always been some underlying mental block, like that I'm dealing with, whether it's anxiety, whether it's depression, whether it's brain fog caused by you can literally be triggered and go into disassociation without even knowing it, right? So I'm not talking about just like, oh my God, like I was, had childhood trauma and I had somebody get murdered in front of me, and that is why I have trauma. Like you can literally have trauma from like your mom not loving you enough. Like, like they didn't love you in the right way. And so therefore you have trauma from like, my mom didn't love me. And your mom's just sitting there like, I loved you in the only way that I knew how, right? Like different like love languages. Um, but like you can literally have trauma from anything, right? Like you saw your dog get hit by a car and like you never really processed that, so you still have trauma stuck from that, right? um Really common thing is like people are very afraid of spiders. If you allow yourself to get built up into like this fear of like, oh my God, spiders, oh my God, spider, like you're walking into a dark room and you're like, there's a spider in here, isn't there? It's somewhere and I don't know where it is. But you can like drive yourself to arachnophobia of sitting in a corner of like a brightly lit room and like, I don't want to go anywhere. There's probably spiders above me, below me, all around me, and I don't want anything to do. Like you can drive yourself into never leaving your house, right? What's that one called? Um, oh man, it's on the tip of my tongue, where you don't leave. Agoraphobia. There we go. Fear of just going and living anywhere, right? The brain's awesome though. It's like you can think yourself into those bad places. You can also unthink yourself into those bad places. Just a lot of the times you'll need a mentor in order to do that. So I know I kind of like covered a whole bunch of different areas today. But I really just wanted to talk about stress and how you respond to stress is not only like very important, but you can also change your reactions to different stressors. And especially when you use a mentor or some type of coach, they can show you better ways to react to those stressors. Like I said, like I used to be a kickboxer that was like terrified to get punched in the face, which is like not the best sport to be in if you don't want to do that, right? I will do a little shout out. First lady I ever fought, she hit me so hard. She hit me so hard. I literally regretted everything that led up to that point in my life. And I had never had that thought ever. Like the whole time I was like, man, kickboxing, yeah, it's cool, right? Like I used to do jiu-jitsu, now I do kickboxing. This is awesome. This lady, like I said, this is like I had my sprained ankle, like my leg was all taped up, and I was just like, all right, just don't move laterally. I was like, that's my whole game plan now. Okay, I'll figure it out. And so this lady hit me so hard. I remember I was like on the ropes and I was like, ow, I do not want that to happen again. And you know what I thought? I was like, like I'm like mid fight, right? Your brain works really fast. I was like, I don't want that to happen again. How do I not have that happen again? Oh, okay. I'm going to hit her. I'm going to keep hitting her so that way she can't hit me because that really hurt. And I was like, got done with the fight. Like I felt like it was an obvious win for her. I learned a lot about my own style and was able to kind of like redirect that and like completely annihilated my next fight, and it was amazing. But anyways, we're like really off topic now. I'm going to go, and if you don't already have it, get this book. If you're not already signed up for our 6-month coaching program, it's going to start January 1st. We pushed it back a little bit just because of the holidays, and a lot of the people that I had interested, they had a lot of really awesome questions about the fitness and mindset everything journal that is going to be accompanying the coaching. But what I'm going to do is this Friday, I'm going to do a pretty much like a breakdown of what we're going to be talking about, of all of your goals, how to like what it would look like to align all of your 6 areas of your life to each other, and then elevate it to the next level. I keep talking about it, and like I feel like I got so many questions of like, Amanda, I have no idea what you're talking about, right? And so instead of you like signing up for a thing that you're like, I don't even know what this is, I'm going to show you what we're going to do, and then we're going to talk about that journal a little bit, and then from there you guys can enter into the program if you like. But I figure it's like a nice little way to get the story going and like get your own gears turning, and then we're actually going to plan some of like your different areas of assessment or areas of alignment in order to make sure you get 2024 kicked off correctly. All right, I have to go to a class, and I love you. That's it. All right, bye guys.